again, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm happy to spend this time with you today. And today we're going to talk about something we rarely notice, but it's happening all the time in the background. But it shapes every reaction that we have. And this is your internal state. So we're going to talk about how quickly it shifts and how easily our mind just reacts like that. And how this state quietly shapes the stories that we tell ourselves and what we tend to believe around about the world around us. So before we talk with you about theory and about neuroscience and what causes this, I want to try something with you. So notice what just happened inside you. I said I was going to try something with you. I sat in silence. What ran through your mind? What thoughts appeared? Think about what assumptions you started to make. What did your body do? So during those few seconds of silence, many people's minds immediately begin searching for an explanation. Maybe it was something like, oh my gosh, did the connection drop? Is she frozen? Did she forget what she was saying? Is something wrong? Does she not know what she's talking about? So, or maybe even thought, maybe this class is going to be a little strange. So, what did you tell yourself? Maybe it was about me as the instructor of like, she's really strange. But nothing actually happened. Your brain immediately began writing a story. And there was uncertainty, which our brains do not like at all. So the nervous system began writing this story for you. It ran a narrative for you. And then your body began reacting to the story. Maybe you reached forward and started moving your mouse. Maybe you were like, were we supposed to type something in? Did I not hear her? So this is what begins to happen. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. My background is in learning and development and behavior science. And I've spent way over 15 years working with executives, with educators, and organizations to help them understand one thing. We make decisions from three systems: the body, the brain, and our beliefs. And the beliefs tend to have control over everything else. So, most of the time, we believe we are reacting logically to situations, but we're actually reacting from habits, from patterns, from perceptions, from history that we've had, experiences, and just those narratives that we run in our head nonstop that we don't even know is happening. So here's the real through line of the work that I do. I help people understand how to identify identity, interpretations, and how the nervous system shape the choices that we make all day long, every day, 24/7. And this happens in conversations and conflict, during leadership opportunities, and even in quiet moments with yourself. So, because after years of working with people across different industries and at every level, my work has focused on something I find endlessly fascinating. And I'm always reading books on it and looking up things. But this is it's about how human behavior actually works and why we react the way we do, why our thoughts spiral, why our emotions take over a moment so quickly, and more importantly, how we can learn to understand and begin regulating those responses. So, I'm going to share a lot with you today. I'm going to have you be immersive in this experience with me today. So, I'm going to really ask you to hold all of your questions to the end, and then we'll spend some time doing some Q&A. And that's only because I want to make sure that we're all in it and present in the state that I need you to be in. And we're experiencing what I'm looking for you to experience today. So please hold those questions to the end. So today's journey. So what we're going to be walking through is why your nervous system reacts so quickly, how your state that you're currently in shapes the stories that are running through your head, what you believe on a day-to-day basis, and how to regulate yourself in real time, and how your state influences everyone around you. So this session isn't about becoming calm all the time. That's literally impossible. We're human beings. We have emotions that rise. So if we're looking for peace and calm at every second of our lives, that's not going to happen. Sorry to tell you. But it's about understanding how your internal system works. So when stress or those reactions appear, you know how to return to your true identity and become and return yourself to a calmer state where you can make logical decisions. So your brain is a prediction machine. And something fascinating is happening in your brain all the time. Your brain is constantly predicting what it thinks is happening before it actually knows. So, and that's a lot of reasons why we worry all the time. We're always predicting these tragedies or what could happen, and we drive ourselves crazy because we're worrying all the time about things that we don't even know is going to happen. But that's what our brain is doing. It's predicting. And it does this faster than any type of analysis that we think we want to do. We can't analyze situations because our brain instantly reacts. So your brain is really trying to answer one question and one question only over and over again. And that is, am I safe right now? So when something is unclear, like silence, or maybe a short email that you get that's kind of curt, or you were looking for some type of acknowledgement and you didn't get it, or maybe you're in a conversation and somebody's tone is a little bit off, your brain begins to fill that gap with a prediction. And here's the important part that I want you to know is that your nervous system reacts to the prediction as if it were true, as if it were reality. This is how the world is, how we're truly seeing it. And this is why two people in the same room can experience the exact same situation, but have completely different reactions. Most of the time, we don't realize that the brain just wrote a story for us. Our brains are built and designed, it's very primitive. It's evolved, but it hasn't evolved that much where it still holds that primitive build from when humankind started. But our brains are designed to protect us. And that's it. It's designed to keep us alive as long as it possibly can. So when something feels uncertain or perhaps a little confusing or ambiguous, the brain fills those gaps with a story. And the most important part is that it reacts to the story that, again, that we believe, not necessarily the reaction or the reality that we're living in. So because I probably stirred up some of the nervous system within you, let's take a second and reset that nervous system so we can truly become present in the space so we can retain the information that I'm giving you. Yeah, and I charged you up with that little experiment. So I want to bring us back to a grounded space. So if your legs are crossed or you're sitting on a chair and your feet are up or whatever, I'm going to ask you to put your feet on the ground. I'm going to do that myself. Put your feet on the ground, and I'm going to ask you to take your hands and either put it on the table in front of you or just on your pants. And I want you to feel that material underneath your hands and just take a second and really notice what that feeling of that surface is for you. Now, when we do this, it brings you present immediately because now you've taken yourself out of your story, out of your head, and it's brought you into present and you're focusing on something other than your thoughts. The next thing I'm going to do is walk you through a breathing exercise. And if you've been with me before, I've done this before, but I want you to notice something as we're doing this breathing exercise. And I'm going to explain it to you first, and then we're going to go ahead and do it. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to breathe deeply in for a count of 4 seconds. And I'm going to ask you to hold that breath for 4 seconds. And that should be all done within your nose, breathing in through your nose. And then I want you to exhale through your mouth for 8 seconds. So in for 4, hold for 4, out for 8. Okay, we're going to do this 3 times. And as you're doing it, I want you to just pay attention to what's happening in your body. So we're going to breathe in for 4, hold for 4, and out for 8 through your mouth. Second time, in for 4, hold for 4, and out for 8. Last time, when you exhale for 8, I'm going to ask you to think the word release. Ready? In for 4. Hold for 4. And out for 8. Think the word release. Okay, now I just want you to do an internal scan through your body and notice any difference between how your body feels now to how it felt a few moments ago. And generally when I do this exercise with people, I notice that they think that if they're very stressed out, they're going to go, and that doesn't happen. It might happen the first time, a little bit slower the second time, but usually by that third time, you start noticing that your shoulders are beginning to fall, that you feel a calmer state within you, and you're more internalized and you're more grounded. And that's the whole point of it. And I'm going to explain that to you in just a few moments. But before I do that, I'm going to try another little experiment with you. So I'm going to describe a short situation with you. And I want you to imagine yourself as best as you can, as clearly as possible that you can. I want you to visualize this in your head. Okay. Imagine that you are walking into a meeting and the meeting is filled with all of your coworkers. Okay. Or it could be a classroom if you're not working, it could be a classroom, you're walking into a classroom and it's filled with students. And as you are walking in, you notice everyone's talking and then they stop and they all turn and look at you. And they're all having full conversation, and then like that, everybody stops, no longer talking the moment you walk in, and they're all staring at you. What is the first thought, the very first thought that appears in your head? Let's see if I can get my chat box up here real quick. If you want to throw that in the chat, feel free. What ran through your head immediately in a situation like that? Very relaxed. Maybe it's a sign of respect or fear, okay? Anyone else? Okay. So many people internally, I know I do. Yep, they've been talking about me exactly. So when I walk into a classroom or a meeting like that, refreshing when everyone stops, interesting. But many people internally think exactly what that first person said. Everybody's talking, they stop talking. As soon as I walk in the room, were they talking about me? Did I do something wrong? And then you start playing things that you've done in the past at work or presentations that you did. They're gossiping. Yes. And it just feels so awkward. Like you almost stop and hesitate for a moment. So notice what happens in your body when a situation like that happens, or when a thought like that comes into your head of, oh my gosh, they're gossiping about me. Oh my gosh, I did something wrong. Okay, maybe your shoulders tighten. I know that's a big one for me. That's like my biggest indicator of my nervous system is reacting, is all of a sudden my shoulders are up by my ears. Or your breath might change. Sometimes we get more shallow breathing, or we begin breathing faster and harder. And your mind begins to try to figure out what happens because we are in a state of not knowing what's going on. So our brain again begins to fill those gaps. So let me give you a piece of the story that I left out. So right before you walked in, everyone was actually talking about how impressed they were by whatever presentation you just gave, or a paper you wrote, or the work you've been doing. And everybody's saying, oh my gosh, this was so good. How did they possibly come up with all these things? It was so engaging. It was so good. What just changed in your body? The situation didn't change. Check if your dress is short. Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's happened to me. Like, is something sticking out? Is my skirt caught up? What's going on here? Yes. But the situation didn't change at all. The story that you're telling yourself is actually what's changing. Your emotional state begins to change with that story. And this happens to us all day long without us even knowing. It's just how our brain operates. Somebody sends you again that short email, or you send a text message and they don't respond. That's a huge trigger for me. If I send a text message and they don't respond for hours, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're mad at me. What did I do? And then I start replaying the last situation that I was in with them. Did I say something? But our brain immediately begins filling the gaps with this story. Their nervous system reacts to the story again that we believe, and again, not necessarily the reality that we are actually in. So think about in your own personal life, where in your life do you think that your brain begins to fill the most stories? Is it in your work environment? Is it in school environment? You will feel, yep, feel uncomfortable. Maybe it's we get triggered during text messages. I know that's a big one for me. Emails. Sometimes we can misread emails or insert things in the emails that aren't really there. I'll go ahead and drop that in the chat. If something pops up for you of like, oh yeah, I'm always telling myself stories around this. I have a very close friend out here. I live in Arizona. I have a very close friend, and we've been tight for years. At least 15 years we've been friends. And we text each other a lot and we see each other. She lives on the other side of the mountain. We get together a lot. But there was a period of time over the last 6 months that I would text her and it would take hours for her to respond. And then her responses were very short. And then I felt like I'm the only one reaching out. And then I started to create the stories of like, again, replaying my situations that I was in with her. Did I say something? Did I do something? Is she just sick of hanging out with us? And I couldn't figure it out. And as it turned out, she had a sick mother, she had a sick father, her daughter was sick, she was sick. I mean, they were taking care of so many different things because she's got a very busy life that she just was caught up in her own life and just wasn't responding. And she's like, I will never be sick of you. Like, why would you possibly think that? But again, it was my own stories filling that gap of no response. So let me share another little story with you. A while ago, I received a message from someone that I felt was, or the email I thought was slightly critical. I wasn't really sure what it meant. I had done some consulting work. I'm currently building an entire K-12 curriculum from the ground up for this company. And I sent the email with all my documents. And it was just the beginning of the curriculum where I'm building all the architecture, what this is going to look like, what the graduate profile is. And I wasn't getting a response. I sent it and days were going by and there was silence, no response, no feedback on what I created. I mean, I spent hours on this thing. And so I started thinking, oh my gosh, they hated it. I did it completely wrong. She's going to come back with everything I didn't do right, and I'm going to have to redo it from the beginning. But after days of nothing, I finally get an email from her. And it really didn't address the work I was doing for her or the work I turned in for her. It mentioned it very briefly, but she went on to talk about our upcoming meeting that we had in another day or so. And the moment I read that email, my shoulders tightened. My breathing started to change. I started to feel sick. My mind immediately began writing the story of they don't respect me, they don't respect my work, they don't understand what I submitted. Maybe they don't know how a curriculum should be written. They think I'm wrong. And I need to defend myself. I need to like explain. I need to like tell them like what exactly it is that I turned in. And my nervous system already decided that this was a threat to me. It just took over. And for a while that day, I sat there replaying that story, coming up with entire conversations that I was going to have with this woman about the work. I ran a million, I started writing a million emails in my head that I was going to send. But I know better. So I never ever respond to emails right away because I know that I need time to process. So I always step away for a while. But later that day, I slowed down enough to look at that message again. And then I realized something surprising. Nothing in that message actually said any of the things that I was thinking. My nervous system filled in the blanks. I was putting things in that email that weren't even there. My state that I was in wrote the story for me. And it made me realize how something that changed how I approach moments like that. Again, most of the time we are not reacting to what actually happens. We're reacting to the story our mind wrote about what happened. And again, I've learned that I just need to step away from the situation and recalibrate and rethink. So I want to know, have you guys ever had a moment like that where you experienced something like that, where maybe you received an email or a text message and you started to create a story in your head? If you did, give me a thumbs up in the chat. This is a very common thing. But in the future, when this happens, I'm telling you, just step away for a little bit and rethink, and don't ever respond right away in an email. So I'm going to talk a little, if you're putting in the chat thumbs up, great. But I'm going to keep going. So as our brains evolved to keep us alive, again, that's our brain's job, is to just stay alive for as long as we can. Your brain constantly scans the environment, looking for potential threats, signs of danger. You might have heard the old belief that, Midwestern men, they always never sit with their back to the door, or the mafia in New York never sit with their back to the door. They're always facing the door so they can scan the entire environment at all times. My husband does that. He will never sit with his back to the door because he's always scanning for potential danger or threats. So the part of the brain that is responsible for this is the amygdala. The amygdala reacts extremely fast. So if we were to look at the brain, I like to use my hand because this is kind of like how our brain is. We've got our brain stem going down the back, and then we've got our frontal lobe here in the front. This would be our forehead. But hidden deep in here is something called the limbic system. And within that limbic system is the amygdala. And the amygdala is the brain's alarm system. So your nervous system is like a smoke detector. It's designed to go off very quickly as soon as there's a threat. But sometimes it goes off when someone burns toast, right? Or we leave something in the oven too long. That smoke detector goes off immediately as soon as it senses that heat or that little bit of smoke. So does the amygdala. It goes off much faster than any kind of logical thinking that we can have, which is the thinking brain, which is the frontal lobe. So when our amygdala is firing, this part shuts down and we can't possibly think logically. So before your brain or mind even is able to analyze the situation, your nervous system has already begun preparing your body to respond. Okay, your heart starts to pump faster, your blood rushes to your limbs and your body, your shoulders might become tighter because you're getting ready to protect yourself or react to a situation that could be harmful. So when the brain predicts a threat, the nervous system again begins to prepare the body to protect itself. And this happens automatically. We don't choose it. We don't even have to think about it. And the body begins to shift into one of three protective responses. And those three protective responses, the first one there is fight. This is when your body prepares to push forward to defend itself. You might feel your voice getting louder or stronger. Your thoughts become sharper. You're thinking faster, and you may feel the urge to argue or correct somebody or prove your point. Okay. This removes you. So the second one there is flight, which removes you from the situation. You begin to move the situation. Your mind might say to you, I don't want to deal with this right now. I'll respond later. I need to get out of here. And this happens a lot between couples in a relationship or even between friends. If we feel the slightest bit of threat or somebody's disagreeing with us, we tend to shut down. We either fight, we argue back to that person, or we want to be like, I need to get out of here. And a lot of us might walk out of the room. Or that third one is freeze. And this is when the nervous system pauses. Okay. You might feel stuck. You might all of a sudden get super quiet. You're not really sure what to say. Okay. Your mind may go blank. This is a big one for me. It's like, oh, I can think all the time. Why can I not think of something right now? But what's important to understand is that these responses are not personality traits. They're how your brain is built, how your brain is built to protect you. Okay. These are of our emotions, memories. Yes. So that part is fires the emotions within us. Yes. So what's again, these are protective patterns built into the nervous system, and your body is simply trying to keep you safe. So the moment that we understand that, we can stop judging ourselves for reacting, because that's a lot of times what we do. We'll instantly react and be like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I'm such a terrible person. I'm not a good partner. I'm not a good friend. I'm not a good student, whatever it is. Your nervous system, again, is trying to protect you, even when that protection isn't necessary at all. So, one of the most important insights in emotional regulation is this: your state shapes the way that you interpret the world. So, when you're tense, and you're stressed or you're defensive, your mind automatically creates stories that match your state. So our nervous system usually tells one of three stories. Okay? Rejection. They don't value me. They don't want me around. Could be a threat. I'm about to lose something. They're going to break up with me. Oh, we're not going to have a friendship anymore. I'm going to fail this class. Failure, which I kind of touched there. I messed this up so bad. Oh my gosh. I'm terrible. I can't do anything right. So, which one does your mind default to? And this plays a big role. And sometimes we're at work or in school and we're stressed out. I had a really bad day, and I'll come home and your partner is at home waiting for you and they're excited to see you. They want to tell you about their day. Maybe they had a rough day. And you walk in and they're like, oh my, and they start telling you, oh my gosh, this happened and this happened. And you're just like, I can't listen to this right now. Like, you think your day was bad, wait to hear my day. And it's like you just instantly fire up because you're not giving yourself a chance to regulate. But because you're already in that state, your reaction is going to be completely different than if you were in a calm, grounded state. So let's do something real quick. I want you to take a moment and notice your body right now. Okay, how are you sitting in your chair? Are you kind of slumped over? Are you leaning on your desk? Are you laying down? Are you curled up? Okay, is your breathing? How's that? Is it slow? Is it shallow? Where are your shoulders at? This is a big thing. As soon as I think about my shoulders, I'm always up here and I'm like, oh yeah. So your body is always giving you signals about your internal state. Your body is the first indicator. It will tell you every time what type of state that you're in. So I'm going to ask you to start becoming aware of what your body is feeling. Okay. Also, how are you feeling? Are you tired? Are you tense? What emotions are running through you right now? Maybe you're thinking, oh my God, I have to sit through this lady talking to me for an hour and I have so much to do and get done. I'm so annoyed, but I need to sit in this class. Or maybe it's just, I want to go take a nap. I'm so tired. So I'm going to ask you to try something with me. I would like you to, or however you're sitting or laying, whatever, I'm just going to ask you to sit a little taller. Relax those shoulders down. Take a nice long, slow breath in through your nose. Long, slow breath out through your mouth. Go ahead and do that again on your own 2 more times. So, in just a few breaths, your nervous system begins to shift. Hmm. In just a few breaths, your nervous begins to shift. Your brain begins to receive signals from your body constantly. So when you change your breathing or posture, your body sends the brain a signal. We are safe. So it works both ways. Your brain can tell your body you're not safe, and your body can tell your brain you are safe just by how you shift. And we may be in the same room, again, but based on whatever state we're in at the time and the stories that our brain is telling us at that time, we are really living in two entirely different realities. And it's all based on the state of our body. It takes 90 seconds and 90 seconds only to regulate your nervous system through posture and through breath work. So let's try something. So now I had you sit up, but now I'm going to ask you to slightly slump your shoulders forward. I'm going to ask you to hang your head down, look down for a moment. And I want you to think about something very stressful. Someone put in here, they're thinking about the power blackout. That's going to happen very soon. And that is very stressful. So think about that. And I want you to notice your body as you're as you're thinking about that stressful situation. And really what you're doing is you're cutting off any type of energy or any type of oxygen in your body by doing so. We almost cut our body in half when we're doing that. Okay, your brain or your heart is starting to work a little harder because now it's got to pump oxygen through this curled up body. It's got to get the oxygen to your legs and arms. Okay, the oxygen isn't getting all the way up to your brain as much as it possibly could because of our posture. So I'm going to ask you to sit up again, nice and tall. Relax your shoulders down. Take some breaths in, a longer breath out. And I want you to think about that same situation again. Does your story in your head shift even just a little bit, a little more to a more relaxed state, to a more logical thinking state? Now you might be thinking about that blackout rather than being like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? My computer's going to shut down. I'm not going to be able to work. All these things are going to happen to. I've experienced a blackout before. It's okay. I'll be all right. We'll figure it out. Okay. Just by shifting your body, your entire thought process changes. Your logical thinking brain can now be turned on. And again, you can shift your body in 90 seconds, but in actuality, emotional reactions only last about 90 seconds in the body. So when we're stressed out, if we're not replaying that story in our head, that emotion can only last 90 seconds. That's a minute and a half. And it takes, again, only 90 seconds for the body to regulate an emotional surge like that when we change our breathing, change our posture. And what keeps that stress alive longer than the 90 seconds is that story that we continue telling. And that's what anxiety is. Anxiety is this looping play of these stories. So anxiety is really based on fear of like, oh my gosh, all these things are going to happen. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then it's like one fear triggers another fear, which triggers another fear. And now you have anxiety when really all that is fear. And if you think about it, how many arguments last longer than 90 seconds? Not very many. Arguments are usually 90 seconds long maximum. So the trick is to stop replaying the story. And I have a couple good techniques for you today other than the breathing. I shared that one already, but I'm going to share another one with you right now. So when you have an emotion, I said an emotion can only last 90 seconds if you're not replaying that story loop in your head. So when an emotion comes on and you become aware of it, and you're like, oh, I'm so stressed, I'm so anxious. Of course, shift your body first, but what I want you to do is to think about that emotion and just without any judgment to yourself, without any writing any stories, notice where you're feeling that anxiety. Is it in your stomach? Is it in your chest? Is it in your shoulders? And just close your eyes for a moment. So I want you to bring that emotion up, whatever it is. Maybe it's about the blackout. Maybe it's about something you have to do later. Maybe it's an argument you had last night. And you can bring those feelings back instantly. bring it in, and without thinking about the story, notice where you're feeling that feeling, feel it, and let it be there. No judgment, no thinking about stories, just noticing the feeling for 90 seconds. Let that feeling just sit. Don't think about any stories around it. Just notice the feeling, just let it happen. It's a normal human facet of life that we feel emotions. They all have purpose. They're sending us messages. Thank you for the feeling. It's going to keep me safe. Just feel that feeling. I'm not going to do the full 90 seconds here, but you might already be feeling it. When you only focus on that feeling in 90 seconds, it's just about gone. It is one of the quickest things that you can do to release that emotion. I'm not going to say it's going to go away completely. Some people it does. When you practice this a lot, you can get it to remove itself faster. But just noticing it without the judgment, without replaying those stories, that emotion dissipates. You might start feeling your shoulders going down a little bit more. You might feel yourself breathing a little better. And it's 90 seconds, a minute and a half. So when people think about emotional control, they focus on thoughts. But again, regulation starts with the body, which was my point there. If we keep it in our head running, the emotion's going to stay. But when we control our bodies, it's going to send that signal back up to the brain. So 3 powerful tools are always available to regulate your nervous system. So these tools are your breathing, your posture, and where you place your attention. The where you place your attention can be a little more work to master this, but we will cover this on the next slide. And I'm going to give you a technique to use when these stories pop up. I've shared the breathing, I've shared the focusing on just the emotion, releasing the stories. But the next one is visualization. Okay. So I want you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine a place where you feel most calm and most stable. It could be an imaginary place. It can be someplace that you just love to go to. You're always relaxed there. It could be your bedroom. It could be the beach. It could be on a mountain somewhere. Whatever it is, take yourself there for a moment and really picture it. Notice the sounds. Are the birds chirping? Is the breeze blowing and you can hear the leaves flowing? Notice the temperature. Is it warm there? Is it a little cooler? Depending on what kind of person you are. I like the hot beach. And notice the feeling in your body when you're visualizing yourself there. It's almost like, ah, Hawaii. I love Hawaii. It just feels so good. But what's happening is that your brain cannot distinguish between what's imagined and what real experiences are. So even by visualizing this nice, calm place, your brain is like, oh, we're at the beach. Oh, I'm sitting on the top of a mountain. So visualization is a super powerful tool. And fun fact, not everybody can visualize. I don't know if you're aware of that. Some people can see pictures in their head when they close their eyes. Some people see it like it's right in front of them. Everyone's different. And some people can't visualize at all, which was shocking to me because I'm a very visual person. But if you're one of those people, then you just focus on the emotion, how you feel when you're there, how you feel when you're in that situation. And those feelings are really going to send that signal to your brain. So this simple visualization or feeling activity can help shift your nervous system immediately towards calm. Now, when you feel triggered, okay, something triggers you, you begin to escalate internally, ask yourself a simple question. What story am I telling myself? That's one of the first steps is what story am I telling yourself? And then once you identify that story, ask yourself, well, is this completely true? Is this 100% true? What else might be true in this situation? And I'm going to go into that a little further in just a moment. But right now, This is a practical, simple, science-backed pathway from reaction to clarity. It works because it speaks directly to how your brain shifts from being in threat mode to becoming more clear. So you're noticing your body's reaction. You're becoming aware. You're becoming aware of how you're feeling. What's the physical reaction? You're becoming aware of that story. Oh, the awareness is the most important step of you start becoming aware, and now you can shift that. And it takes some practice becoming aware of that. But your body, again, is that first alarm. Your tight shoulders, maybe your face gets hot, you have shallow breathing. These are all signals that your lens is narrowing down to that story. So when you notice this, the second thing is we want to interrupt the autopilot because our brain runs constantly behind the scenes. And once we name that story, notice the feelings in our body, we have that awareness. The next thing is now we can pick a tool. And this is the moment of truth. Your brain isn't just reacting, and again, it's interpreting. What story am I telling? They're judging me. I'm being dismissed. I'm not respected. Oh, this is all my fault. Naming the story brings that prefrontal cortex back online, the thought, the thinking, the logical thinking, and it's physiologically equivalent of flipping the lights on in a dark room. You ever walk into a dark room, you have a little bit of anxiety. I know I do. I don't like the dark. You turn the lights on, it's like, oh, that's kind of what we're doing here, is we're turning the lights on what's happening in our body and in our minds. And then again, picking that tool. What tool are you going to use? Are you going to use breath work in the moment? Are you going to use visualization? Close your eyes, imagine you're somewhere. Are you just going to close your eyes and let that emotion sit? So pick your tool and then navigate yourself and choose how you're going to respond. What response aligns with who I want to be? And this is where your intention replaces your instinct. You choose your next move from clarity instead of protection. And if you're involved in a conversation that's getting you escalated and you start noticing it in your body, a simple question you can ask is, here's what I'm interpreting that you're telling me. Can you tell me if I'm understanding this correctly? And I can't tell you how many times I've used this where I interpreted it completely wrong. And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. And then it's like my whole body shifts. So we're shifting again from threat. Now we're moving to curiosity when we're asking the other person, am I understanding this correctly? I'm shifting from being defensive to clarifying. I'm no longer assuming, I'm becoming grounded and present. So you get to choose the version of you that leads instead of the version of you that reacts out of fear. So every time you walk through the awareness, pick a tool, choose your reaction, you're rewriting old patterns that you have in real time. And this takes practice. It doesn't happen instantly. You've got to continue to do the work, and then it just becomes more natural. So again, every time you walk this path, you're interrupting the autopilot and you're choosing with intention. Because we're not reacting to the person in front of us at all. We're reacting to what we think that they mean. Okay. And this is all, again, based on those past experiences, old patterns that we have. And we can shift our entire emotional landscape by doing this activity. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do a quick rewrite in real time. So think of a moment. I'm going to give you a few seconds. Think of a moment when you felt triggered. Somebody triggered you. It's either by a comment they made, a text they sent, maybe you misread their tone, maybe they got really loud in a moment. Think of a moment of tension. Maybe it was you didn't get the job you applied for. Maybe your boyfriend or girlfriend just broke up with you. Perhaps your friend hasn't been texting you that much lately. Okay, and this is the part that I said I was going to get to in a moment. But think about what story you're telling yourself. This alone is huge, naming that story. Once you name the story, it's deactivating your autopilot. Now you can begin asking yourself some questions. Okay, so I'm going to refer to my friend that I said got silent all of a sudden. And I'm telling myself these stories. And then I was like, all right, is this 100% true? Like, without a doubt, do I have evidence that shows this to be true other than her not responding? Okay, was she, in the past, what type of friendship did we have? Did she used to respond? Well, there's evidence that she did respond before. And then I asked myself, well, what else might be true? And the magic number here is 11. So if you have time to sit down and think about a situation and write out 11 other things that might be true, this is a huge deactivator of your nervous system. So what else might be true? And then I'm going to start searching for evidence from the past that proves opposite of what my story is. So maybe I'm telling myself, I am not a good friend. I don't do these things. People don't like me. And then I look for the opposite to be true. Well, I've had lots of friends in my life. They've always told me I was a good friend. People go out of their way to do things for me. And I can go on and on and on, coming up with all the evidence that shows the opposite of what my story is. And I was like, oh, well, maybe she's just busy. Maybe she's distracted. Maybe she's having a stressful time. I know that her parents aren't well. They're living in Tucson by themselves and they're old and they have health issues. Maybe her short response, maybe she didn't mean it to be short. Maybe she was driving her car and just wanted to give a quick voice memo. Okay? Maybe she's not even thinking about me at all, which is fine because she's got too many other things to do. But when I ask these questions, I can widen my lens and zoom out for a moment and see the whole picture rather than zooming in on this one little pinpoint of time. So when we zoom out, our nervous system relaxes, and then my reaction naturally softens. I'm not excusing behavior. I'm giving my brain more options than what the threat is. So think about a story that you often tell yourself in your mind. Maybe that somebody doesn't respect you. Maybe you did something wrong. Maybe you're falling behind. But think about, have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt tension? Could be with a partner, could be with friends, could be at work, could be anywhere. You walk in and all of a sudden your nervous system is like, something's not right here. It's because our nervous system is constantly reading other people. Our nervous system is communicating. We're communicating with them through our nervous system, and they're communicating with us. And this is called mirror neurons. So if you ever notice when you walk in a room and it's very tense, all of a sudden you're tense, and your posture, tone, and presence is going to send signals to others just about their posture, tone, and presence is signaling to you. Is it safe or is it not safe? So one reactive person can shift the mood of an entire room. But just like that, one grounded person can calm the room just as quickly. So when we're thinking about leadership or moving into a leadership role, or maybe you're in a leadership role, think about that. Leadership just isn't authority. Leadership is emotional regulation for the entire room. I'm not going to take a class from somebody who on how to ground myself if they're not a grounded person themselves. And you can tell if you're uptight or not. You tell if they're grounded and relaxed and know how to control their emotions. But I'm not going to take a class from somebody on that type of thing if they're like, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. That's not going to happen. So be thinking about that, especially if you're moving into a leadership role. Now I want you to take a moment to reflect. Where do you tend to become most triggered most often? Is it with a partner? Is it at work? Is it with friends? Is it at school? Is it by yourself? Think about what is that first signal that your body gives you to tell you you're becoming reactive. Mine is always my shoulders, always. And then what tool did I share with you today that might help you reset that nervous system? And again, the more familiar you become with your signals and using those tools, the more you do it, the easier it becomes to regulate yourself. So, learning to regulate your state doesn't mean that you never get triggered. Okay, it means when the story starts writing itself, you know how to pause long enough to ask, is this the only possible story? And I guarantee you it is not. And sometimes this one question just changes everything. So, thinking back to the stories that I've shared with you, the email that I sent with all my documents, okay, there were multiple stories there that I told myself. But had I taken the moment to sit down and think about, well, what else could be true? Well, she's a CEO. She runs four other businesses. She's busy. She's in the middle of working with a school. My documents may have been perfect, and she's waiting to tell me on Friday that how good they were. Had I done that initially, all that time I wasted being stressed and worrying and running scenarios through my head of what my emails are going to look like, how I'm going to defend myself, would have been gone. We need to stop listening to all the stories that we're telling ourselves. So once we pause, again, that allows the clarity to return. And somebody asked um, earlier here, I just want to address that because this is a great question. Um, the importance of self awareness before any action. Because, again, our brain runs on autopilot. We have a subconscious that runs all of our actions 90% of the time. So, really, we're just running on this autopilot throughout the day. And our subconscious is developed by the age of 12. So, we're all a bunch of 12-year-olds technically walking around unless we do this type of work where we can rewire our brains to work the way that we need them to. And we react based on our past experiences, what we've been taught, what our beliefs have been that have been instilled in us. All of these things is how we're reacting. Our brain just automatically does it. But the importance of the awareness is because a lot of a lot of the time, it shows up in our body first before we even realize it in our brain. So if we start becoming aware of what's happening with our bodies and become more aware of where these triggers lie in our body, we're going to start noticing that quicker. And our body can send messages to the brain to tell it that it's safe, rather than the brain sending the message to the body that we're not safe based on the stories that we're telling. So hopefully that makes sense. So that pause, again, remember that step, that awareness, choosing a tool, and then choosing how to react. That pause at the beginning is where our choice is allowed to live. Because when our reactive system in our brain is firing, our frontal lobe turns off like a light switch. And there's no logical thinking happening whatsoever. So we need to put the fire out first. And the way we put the fire out is through regulating our body so that frontal lobe can open up and we can think logically again. And we can become grounded again and bring ourselves present. So again, being triggered is part of being human. That's how we're built. We're built for survival and survival only. Keep ourselves alive as long as we can. So we're always, again, scanning for that threat. It's not failure on our part, it's just human nature. And it's simply your nervous system trying to protect you. And the sooner you learn to recognize that state, you gain the ability to shift it. And that small shift changes the way that you experience the world and that you see the world. So I always like to give an aligned action when I close out my class. And your line action for this week is beautifully simple. This week, I just want you to start simply becoming aware of the state that you're in. Start noticing your body throughout the day and be like, oh, what's my body doing? And you might notice your shoulders are up. And you might notice that maybe you're holding your hands in fists. Okay? What are you feeling inside your body? Maybe you're like, oh, I do have a knot in my stomach. I didn't even realize that. And I'm not asking you to do this to fix yourself. I'm not asking you to do this to judge yourself. I'm asking you to do this just to begin to see it, to start noticing it. Because once you become aware of it, it starts to create that space. And space creates choice. And if you notice a story forming in your head, pause and ask, is this fact or is this a story? And even if you think, oh, this is fact, well, what else might be true? Because there's always that opposite side of it. And then what tool do I want to use right now? Do I want to let that emotion sit and just feel it and let it dissipate on its own for 90 seconds? Do I want to breathe it out? Do I want to visualize? How do I want to shift this? And that one tiny shift can change your entire situation. Sometimes it could change your entire day. And when your story begins to shift, again, your world around you does too, as well as everybody else, because we have those darn mirror neurons. So before we wrap up, I'm open to some Q&A if we're ready.
I would think so. Patricia
Okay.
has her hand up for a while. Her hand's not
Okay.
up right now, but she probably still has a question sitting there.
All right, let me see here.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and wonderful evening and afternoon, depending on your time. Actually, what I wanted to ask about is more of what you've answered, but I'll
Okay.
still have to ask question because sometimes maybe with your partner, and you begin
Mm-hmm.
to read stories about you that you can't even imagine. Let's assume at a place of work as a part-time
Mm-hmm.
teacher, begin to read stories. You are having a date with your bosses. How many will you even date and leave? So how would you help in that situation?
Oh, we cut out a little bit there. I'm so sorry. So you,
Okay, you didn't understand me?
I think, how would you handle that situation?
Yes, please.
okay. So I only heard, I think, part of the story. So it was you have a
Okay,
partner.
should I come again?
Yes, please, but you keep
Should I repeat
freezing up for
my
some reason.
question?
Yeah.
Okay, like uh,
Dr. Lambert, did you hear her the whole part of the scenario?
No, I did not.
Okay.
okay, like as husband and wife, let me just
Uh-huh.
put it that way. And your partner is beginning a kind of reading stories about you that are not true.
Okay.
I mean, stories about you that are not true, like maybe at your place of work, you're having affairs up and down, and you know that all those things never come to your mind. Do
Yes.
you get what I'm saying?
I get what
So
you're saying.
sometimes it can even result to malice of 2 weeks, malice of a month. You understand? Things you don't even think of. Begin to
Yes.
restore over there and
Mm-hmm.
understand. So how would you help in such situation?
Okay.
Material
Yeah. So let me explain that a little bit first. So, and that I just want to clarify that I'm understanding this correctly. You have a partner or a husband who writes their own stories in their head about you that you might be cheating at work or having an affair and all these things, correct? And you're like, that would never come across my mind that to even like think about that. So personally, and I'm going to share this with you, I'm going to be very vulnerable right here. I am that person that has those stories in my head of, oh gosh, there's a new lady at work. Is he going to find her attractive? Is he going to want to cheat on me? Oh, they're all going out to dinner. Oh my gosh, they're not really going to dinner. You know, I run those stories in my head. And I have done so much work on that. And I am actually finally at a place where I'm good. And because I realize that these are stories that I create. And he had a hard time dealing with it because like every couple of weeks or so, I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, there was this beautiful woman on your page," and blah 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 blah. And he's like, "Don't you understand that I feel about you the way you feel about me?" Like those things would never come across my mind because he doesn't think like that, but I do. And that is the reason I do is purely based on my past beliefs, things that I've seen, things that I've experienced, things that have been told to me over and over again. And in past relationships, I was cheated on over and over again. I was married to somebody for 21 years that was always looking at other women. And now I carry that because now I think every man's like that. So it's based on their past experience and belief of why they're carrying that and projecting that on you. So how do you handle that? Be patient. Teach him what I just taught you today about the stories in the head. And
So it's
ask
like you're
if you,
saying, when a situation comes up, you have to ask yourself, what
yes,
story am I thinking right now?
right, exactly. Yep. So
So,
if
and so you're talking about how to regulate that story
mhm,
to get a better control of the situation.
yes. So he would always ask me, one of the questions that he would ask me repeatedly was, do I ever show you anything different? What evidence do you have that I would do something like that? And I'd be like, well, nothing. You're nothing but doting on me. Like, yes. So, I mean, there was no evidence to prove what I was thinking was correct.
So you use that evidence to reframe the story.
Yes, exactly. And I had to do it over and over again.
So
So
it's like
when,
when at the beginning you were talking about you walk into a room, everybody looks at you,
yes,
think, what's going on? And then all of a sudden you like see a pretty woman on his computer and you think, oh, what's going on?
yes,
Until you know the facts.
yes, exactly. And the every time was always a friend from high school or somebody he knew from a previous job that, was having trouble or whatever. Like there was always something that I was like, oh, all right, that makes sense. Like, so it was like, oh, this is so dumb. Like, why do I keep thinking this? Like, he's allowed to have friends. He's allowed to have people from his past that might be attractive, that he might, come up on his Facebook feed with their stories. I don't know. So,
And so it's that process of grounding. Grounding is
yes,
really emotional regulation. Is that correct?
absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
There's someone asked here about a question about how does hypnosis fit into all of this?
Oh,
Um,
that's a great question.
but I think that would be left for another class. That's a big
I think so.
topic.
That is a
And we're
big
actually out
topic.
of time.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it might be better to actually finish a little earlier so we have more time for questions because
Yeah.
I have a feeling there's going to be some questions coming here.
Yeah.
Women have a very, ha Faziana says women have a lot of intuition. Nobody can deny it.
Oh yeah.
Now, would you say intuition is sometimes having the wrong story in your head, or how does that happen?
So intuition is more based on feeling. So it's like when you meet somebody, like your intuition will immediately tell yourself, is this a good person or is this a bad person? And yeah, it sort of is based on story and it is based on past experiences. And you might get to know that person and be like, oh, they're actually a good person. But usually intuition is based on feeling and being like, oh, I just don't feel like I should get in my car today and go to the store. I should probably stay home. And the reason women have a very good intuition, we like to think that we do more than men. We are all born with it. We all have the same ability, but because of how we're raised and what society says, men aren't supposed to have that. They're not supposed to have those feelings. So men suppress them and they stop using that part of their brain.
Well, it seems to me intuition is basically, am I safe? And I want to
Yes.
avoid something that's going to be risky.
Mm-hmm.
So intuition kind of like tries to keep us safe.
Yes.
When you were mentioning safe, I was thinking as a man, sometimes I want to take risks.
Yeah.
I want to go into situations that aren't safe and
Yes.
take and deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so my intuition is sometimes, what do I have to do here? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And
And
it's
yet,
not so much, how do I keep myself safe and back off? No, I'm the one that has to go forward and do the fight, right?
yes. Mm-hmm. And part of that is nature and part of that is nurture. So a lot of it is based again on society's beliefs, how we're raised, what we've been taught. And women in general are taught to retreat, base everything on our emotions. Whereas men are like, nope, I'm gonna stick up and I'm gonna fight for my family.
Right.
That's how we were raised.
So
And
it's like intuition is different for men and women.
mhm, we all have it. It's just how you react to the intuition is different. So the reaction part is what changes.
Wow, we could really go into this pretty deeply, but we're out of time. Um, and at the end here, Selena says trust issues. Woo, there we go.
Yes.
That's a whole nother class right there.
Yeah. And the trust is stories. That's all trust is. It's stories. And it's either those stories are proven correct or they're proven wrong. And so we need to decide what evidence is proving either way of that trust balance.
So how would you end this class with just like the message of the class?
Mm-hmm. Um, gosh, there's so much. Now, again, I would just follow, begin with your body. Just start becoming aware of what you're feeling, how your body is reacting to things, and then instantly switch to what story am I telling myself about that? Because those stories they're troublemakers. They can cause a lot of problems.
And is it easy to use that with somebody else who's like being triggered?
Depends on what kind of person they are. Some people are very closed off to that. I've had actually I've lost a friend recently because I was like, stop telling yourself these stories. And she was like, stop telling me what to do. So if they're not, if they're not aware of it or even open to changing their life, then they might just shut you down.
So then you have to be the leader and do the emotional regulation yourself.
Exactly. You have to
Yeah.
be the model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a lot to go into here, everybody. This is a really interesting class. Come back and listen to this again and really kind of you practice it. You have to practice these principles.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right, that's going to do it. Janice,
All right.
what are you going to talk about next time you come?
I'm not sure.
Well, you got hypnosis, you got trust issues, you got a couple of things on the table there.
Intuition. Yep.
Intuition, another
Yeah.
thing on the table there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, body sensations, external events.
Mm-hmm.
You know how there's so many layers to what's going on here.
Absolutely.
And yeah, lots to think about. Okay, that's gonna have to do it,
All right.
everybody.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. It was so exciting to be here. Good to see you all.
Now, everybody, you can unmute your microphones to say thank you and bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Great
everyone.
topic
Thank you
and
very much.
goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye. Bye.
Stay grounded.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor.
welcome. Thank
Remember,
you.
think before you act.
Yes,
Full of
exactly. All right.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much, Janice Russell.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Lambert. Take
Keep
care,
moving,
everybody.
Have a great day, everybody. Great to see you here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stay grounded, stay out of trouble.
Thank you
Sure.
very much. And use our intuition, right?
Yes.
Thank
Thank you very much, Janice, for
Yes, well,
everything.
then do.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. Bye-bye.